if you just go by the contribution of Muslims to the film industry, it's quite incredibly high. And I don't, as I said, in my heart of hearts, I consider myself to be an Indian, not a Muslim.
Yes, absolutely.
I used to wonder when the Maulvi Sahib said all Muslims will go to heaven and all non-Muslims will go to hell. So I used to wonder why will KC Singh, my best friend, go to hell? Bollywood has nothing to do with life. He conducted himself in a very dignified manner. I haven't seen Pathan. I don't think I'll see it.
Singing on the...
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the kind of sympathy Shah Rukh Khan commands. Religion has never played an important part in my life. It's only now that I'm becoming aware of my identity as a Muslim, which I never was.
Yeah.
If you were so intent on changing the world, you'd go out and do something about it. You wouldn't be making films. Films raise the questions, they don't give the answers, like any other art form.
Yes, exactly.
I did read the Bible in school. I went to a Christian school. I have read parts of the Ramcharitmanas and I've read bits of the Quran. And all I can say is that they were written by great writers.
So I wanted to ask you to please speak about that whole process of adaptation, because I'm sure you've had, I haven't read the play, so I don't know, but I'm sure you had to adapt a lot of things for the current situation and the discourses of the current. So if you could speak a little bit about that.
Thank you. Thank you. Not from me, also from the entire team who made this film. The cinema, I think, is a collective creation. It's not a one man's job. Anyway, let me tell you in the beginning that what I feel is that the film would not have achieved this height if Naseerji wasn't there. I think all of you will agree to this, actually. Now, first thing is, I completed this film just before the pandemic, after when I came back to my house with an MP4 file of the complete film. I heard this 21 days lockdown or something. I didn't realize what is that, and say it's a matter of 21 days. Then I had to wait for 2.5 years. It took me another 2 years to make this film, or more than 2 years. Then I could release this film. But I must also tell you two things, that why I chose this thing, this drama. You know, I am a kind of a person or filmmaker who always tries to react to my immediate surroundings, my country, my countrymen. And we look for text which will help me to make a film out of it. At the same time, I can communicate what I want to communicate. When at that point of time, I read this thing, Inherit the Wind. One of my friend who was translating some American drama into Bengali, he gave me his draft. When I went through it, I find this drama very close to my heart, what I was thinking of making a movie out of it. Actually, Inherit the Wind is based on an incident that happened in 1925. But the drama was written in the 50s. It was a time in American political history which is a time where all the leftists were under attack, and Chaplin had to leave America. Hollywood was very much a very disturbed place, and McCarthy era. What I thought, I am living now in our kind of McCarthy era, Indian McCarthy era, you can say. So,
thank you. Sorry, what was the question again?
It was about
Change, about how cinema can bring change.
change.
I have doubts about it. If you were so intent on changing the world, you'd go out and do something about it. You wouldn't be making films. Films raise the questions, they don't give the answers, like any other art form.
Yes, exactly.
And I said earlier that I consider documentaries to be of more significance than feature films. Because in feature films, you can get carried away with trying to lull the audience, with trying to apply some balm to them. I don't think there can be a successful film which is also a disturbing one. I don't think that it can be, because the audience doesn't pay all that money for the popcorn to get disturbed. You know, they go there to have a jolly good time, and unfortunately that has become the norm. And therefore a film which does not stick to the norm, people are skeptical about, as Saibal just told you about our film, which was released. Even I didn't find out that it was running in Mumbai. And recently there's another very nice film called Faraz, which is also talks about the right things, which has also hardly been seen. The trouble with documentaries is people shy away. And people shy away, I suspect, because of the films division documentaries that used to come on. I don't know if you people are familiar with those, but in Arch, oh my goodness. The films division logo had to appear, and there would be a mass exodus out of the hall. You know, to go to the loo or to smoke a cigarette or drink chai or something. And therefore documentaries are associated with boring stuff, visuals of leaders walking around cutting ribbons. And people don't realize that documentary cinema is the only kind of cinema which can capture life as it is. And therefore, I think that more heed should be paid to those who aspire to make films, to make documentaries.
But this is also a question that's never asked about literature or painting or, that should be an agent of change. But film, yes, filmmakers always ask this question.
Right, I think because film is such a visceral kind of experience.
And mass.
And a mass experience, which I'm afraid it's going to cease to be in 10 years' time. I have been predicting the disappearance of cinema halls completely. It will happen, it's already on its way. And maybe film will then become a solitary experience, not a collective one as it used to be. Hopefully that won't happen to the theatre.
But Pathan it was very collective. I mean, if you watch it in a single screen, or even have one of those new revised versions, people dancing and singing on the...
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the kind of sympathy Shah Rukh Khan commands.
Especially now, post all the trouble that...
Exactly, yeah. And I must say he conducted himself in a very dignified manner.
He was very...
I haven't seen Pathan. I don't think I'll see it. Because there's really nothing in the promos which makes me feel, wow, I got to see this. Whereas there are several other movies where I do feel that way. But
except that Shah Rukh has a presence, and the narrative, the narrative of his subjugation comes through quite well.
And the clever thing that he's done is not identified the character as belonging to a particular religion.
No. Yeah.
And that was the smartest thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's a great time pass or whatever, but I don't often see films for time pass. To try and read the Quran, which was torture for us, but we did it, and I thank my stars that I did it because it familiarized me with the Arabic alphabet, and therefore I've learnt to read Urdu since then. But I always found religious concepts, at least the ones that I was told, slightly ridiculous, even at the age of, I think, 4 or 5. I remember arguing with my Maulvi Sahib about him saying that the earth was flat. And my father would chastise me for doing this. Don't argue with the Maulvi Sahib. And I'd say, but he's talking nonsense, Baba. or is what they're teaching us in school nonsense? You tell me. How can the earth be moving? If it were moving, to phir yahan se wahan nahi pahunch jate. And this kind of stuff. There's one divine soul who sits up there and who is noting down he must have a really busy day. I often wondered, how does he keep track of every single person on this earth? I found this very hard to believe. I did read the Bible in school. I went to a Christian school. I have read parts of the Ramcharitmanas, and I've read bits of the Quran. And all I can say is that they were written by great writers. Whether they're divine revelations or not, I'm not getting into that area, and I'm not getting into an argument about that. I do not know if they were divine revelations, but they are great literature.
Yes.
And I think that being exposed to the sounds of the Arabic language and the Latin language and the Sanskrit language early in life has helped me immensely in my diction. But religion has never played an important part in my life. I remember one day when I was without work very early, around 1975, I'd done one film and I was not getting any other work. And there were days when I went hungry and there were days when I went penniless and so on. And one day I was so desperate that I said कि चलो नमाज पढ़ता हूँ, शायद कुछ सुकून मिल जाए मुझे. And I did the wuzu and I spread out the janamaz, and suddenly I said, what is this nonsense? What am I doing? Am I going to buy sabzi? I'm going to buy alus and tomato. I'm going to barter with the old man. I'm going to say, I'm going to praise you and you do something for me. No, this kind of bargaining I don't get. And since that day, I have not prayed except in gratitude. That's the only kind of prayer that I consider to be important. My family did not have a problem about my marriage with Ratna. None of them criticized or said you're living in sin or anything of the sort. So it has never figured in my life. It's only now that I'm becoming aware of my identity as a Muslim, which I never was.
Yeah, I mean.
And I think that's a terrible thing.
I think the India we grew up in, you did, I did. We weren't so aware of these identities.
We were not. And I used to wonder when the Maulvi Sahib said all Muslims will go to heaven and all non-Muslims will go to hell. So I used to wonder why will K.C. Singh, my best friend, go to hell? He's a hell of a good guy. He likes his parents. He's an obedient chap. He's a good student. And why does he have to go to hell? And I'm going to go to heaven with all my flaws. The hell would be far more full of interesting people, I'm sure.
It's like Paradise Lost. No, Satan is a really interesting figure in Paradise Lost. Question for you. Why does Bollywood shy away from making movies that do not conform to the dominant and hegemonic ideologies? Bollywood
has nothing to do with life. Firstly, I detest this term Bollywood because it implies that Hollywood is the only markdand for any kind of film. So now there's not only Bollywood, there is Gollywood and Follywood and Tollywood and God knows what else. But it never has had any connection to real life. There were movies made by the early works of Mr. V. Shantaram, some of the early Marathi movies, which talked of progressive ideas about widow remarriage, about love between Hindu and Muslim neighbors, how to reform criminals, etc.
Yeah.
But even those movies conformed to the formula of how to make a movie. There's got to be a song every now and then. It's got to be emotion laden, and it's got to have a happy ending. So that has always been the template. So is it surprising that that Bollywood does not reflect reality? It's not supposed to.
Of artists who speak the truth in the context of mainstream cinema in India, taking a horrifying kind of submission to the dominant ideology and propaganda films. Love the movie, by the way, Inqilab Zindabad. That's how this question.
No, the answer is no. I don't feel any anxiety. I feel a sense of responsibility toward films which I believe are stating something that should be stated and which people are not very vocal about. I think that any actor, irrespective of what tradition he belongs to, would face flack from a certain section in any case.
Yeah.
And my being a Muslim in the film industry, I don't think is in any way an anomaly, because if you just go by the contribution of Muslims to the film industry, it's quite incredibly high. And I don't, as I said, in my heart of hearts, I consider myself to be an Indian, not a Muslim.
Yes, absolutely.